Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 61 of the 40K Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I'm joined, as always, to the butcher of Boston himself.
Oh, okay.
Cannibal McBloodlust.
Oh, ooh. All right, cool. Because the
Ooh.
actual Boston area butchers you would know if you were a local, which you're clearly not, would be McKinnon's. So I don't feel too bad about that you missing that, because this is pretty topical with the new Necromunda shit coming out.
Was it last episode where I was talking about how I feel like I know Boston because I watch a lot of This Old House?
I don't remember if that was last episode or we just talked about hyper-regional ice cream delivery. That was last episode, which was approximately 35 years ago. We're sorry, everyone. Real life happens.
Last episode was 3 weeks ago, and life happens, you know? It just happens, and it keeps happening. And we're actually going to talk about that later in the show, but there's been a lot going on in at least my life. I don't know about your life.
I don't know, about 3 weeks ago is when I got married, so that's something.
That is right. You did get married. I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you.
You had the nicest little goth wedding.
It was a really nice little goth wedding. Our wedding cake even had ghosts on it. It was great.
I liked your wedding photos in the graveyard afterwards. It was very nice.
Yeah, we even got to stand near John Hancock's giant
stone penis
compensatory marker. But yeah, stone penis. It's explicitly a dick.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty great. It's a landmark. It's history, Dan.
Hey, come to Boston. Look at a giant stone penis.
We got all kinds of giant stone penises. We got that one. We got the one in Bunker Hill. We got at least two giant stone penises.
Well, we've got the largest giant stone penis in the United States here in Washington, D.C.
It ain't all about size, Dan.
Okay, enough about our regions.
Ooh.
And let's move on. Let's move on to the aspects where we talk about what's on our hobby radar. Hobby progress, Campbell, where we start every show. I'm going to start.
Okay.
I finished Chapter Master Shrike. Now,
hell yeah.
Because it's been 3 weeks since we recorded, I finished Chapter Master Shrike like 2 days after we released the last episode. So y'all may have probably already seen him, but oh boy, I am happy with this model.
As well you should be.
So I took him off of his dumb jersey barrier that he is standing on in the model. And if I've decided that if people accuse me of modeling for advantage, I'll just take one of my dice cubes and put it under him.
Actually, that's very fair.
Move him around the table with that. Because I don't like it. I don't think it looks good. So I removed that from the model, and I'm very happy with it. And boy, oh boy, is that backpack extremely anime.
Yeah, it's extremely like mecha anime. Like I'm half expecting a bunch of missiles with like lovingly animated smoke contrails to come out of them as they all crisscross and weave and wave and blow something up with those big orange circle explosions that I love so much. Now, if you do want to not be modeling for advantage, you could put him on top of a mid-2000s era display plinth, which adds approximately somewhere between 1 and 32 inches to the height of the model.
Mount him on an actual 2x4 that's standing straight up and down.
Except it also needs to have a nameplate with some like really pretentious quote on the front of it.
Nevermore. So I did put the red streak in his hair, and
yes, you did.
I am so happy with how that turned out.
I'm really happy you did that. That is a good commitment to the bit. You got to commit to the bit.
You got to lean in.
Yeah.
It's Warhammer 40,000, y'all. Let's not take it too seriously. Or seriously at all.
Yeah. Call me. You know what show you're listening to.
All right. So since then, I haven't had a lot of hobby progress time. I've been very busy at work. I bought a house.
That's a big thing. That's a very big thing.
Yeah. It's the largest thing I own, actually.
Well, the bank owns it. You're just in it.
I get to operate it. Yes, the bank does own it, but in 30 years, it will be mine.
That's it. We're all under the heel of somebody.
Right. So got a house, moving in. I haven't moved in yet. We closed on it last Friday, and it's what is today, the 20th?
Yeah, so, the 20th.
Yeah, on the 15th, we closed on it, which, hey, fantastic, great. But, oh, boy, Did you know, Campbell, that homeowning is like, there's a lot of shit that goes into that?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of papers you sign that you don't read. And
no, I'm talking about like just like the whole like even before moving, I'm over there all the time doing stuff already.
Oh, absolutely. Our house didn't have heat, and didn't have functioning heat when we moved in, pretty much. And that was like March. And I don't know if you've been in New England in March, but sitting on the tile floor of a kitchen in a house that doesn't really have super functioning heat in March is not super fun. So I have a very distinct sense memory of those first few weeks of before we'd moved in and we were just doing stuff around the house.
Yeah. Well,
don't recommend it.
It's a lot of stuff. So I haven't had a lot of time for hobby progress. I have started in on the Stalker bolt rifle Primaris Lieutenant.
Is it the guy holding his helmet?
It is the guy holding his helmet.
Yeah,
I'm not putting a streak in his hair.
Oh,
though it kind of looks like it because he's got some cordage.
The streaks are molded. Like you could just do one.
He's got some cordage on his head, some wiring coming out of his skull.
It's pronounced cordage.
Some cordage, and I do red wires for the most part, so it might look like he has a streak in his hair, but it's not an actual streak. But the biggest project I've been working on is I've actually organized a Necromunda campaign. Now, I'm not going to get into too many details here because we're going to talk about that later in the show. And I was doing a little bit of research before the show started. Yep. I was researching our show. I was going through all of my old show notes because we were trying to figure out a good first segment to get into today and see if we'd done it or anything like it before. And surprisingly, we haven't. But Campbell, we talk about Necromunda a lot on this show.
Yeah, we do. This is honestly more of a Necromunda podcast than a 40K podcast half the time. Yeah. And I'm here for it. I'm pretty okay with it. I've never felt any problem with the poll our show goes.
Yeah, I know that we're ostensibly a 40K podcast, but it's like almost half the shows we talk about Necromunda.
Yeah. Yes. Yes,
I would guess 40 to 45% of our shows we have a segment with Necromunda in it. So sorry, I guess I don't really care. I love Necromunda.
Sorry, and you're welcome. Although we get a lot of emails from people saying they just started Necromunda because of the show. So I hope you can convince some of your friends to start it too.
I hope we're getting kickbacks from Games Workshop. Except wait, I don't have to hope because I know that we're not.
Oh, that's so good. You don't have to worry about it.
Don't even have to.
No one listens to our show. I don't have to worry about success if I never succeed in the first place.
So my hobby progress has not actually been a lot with models, but like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about the campaign I'm running later in the show. So Campbell, what about you? I have a feeling that I'm just going to get completely stomped in hobby progress as I have been lately.
That's it. This 20 minutes of the show where I talk about what I painted over the past few weeks is my favorite every single week.
Jesus Christ, I hope it's not 20 minutes.
It shouldn't be. All right, so I think I was working on 5 Reavers and a Phobos Lieutenant last time.
Yeah.
They're done. So, shocker. I built and painted the Invictor Tactical Warsuit, which is great because...
Yeah, you did.
My show notes, I was updating it live like as I was doing it over the past 2 weeks. I was like, I built the Invictor. I have these notes about it. Backspace, backspace, backspace. I built and painted the Invictor. I have these notes about it. So what I did for it is it's got so much like metal gubbins on it. Like I painted it like a knight. Like I built it in a main subassembly of the skeleton. I left all the armor plates off pretty much, and I spray paint those separately.
Yeah.
And the problem is I spray painted lead belcher, and paint doesn't want to stick to lead belcher.
It doesn't.
So actually, Berserker Monkey on Something Awful, he said to matte varnish it after spraying it with lead belcher, which I think I'll do that next time because it was kind of a pain in the butt to get all the washes to stick too because I wanted to look really oily. But I love how that thing came out. I even got it in like sort of a delete this pose where he's aiming his giant heavy bolter bolt pistol down as the pilot looks out like through the roll cage at it.
You painted the least stealthy stealth dreadnought on the planet.
I know. I had so much fun. There's so many flames and caution stripes on it.
I remember
did post that on Twitter, so please go see it.
When you tweeted it out. It looks fantastic, by the way. Listeners, go get thee to Campbell's Twitter or his Tumblr and check this thing out because it is a beautiful model, but it is not stealthy whatsoever.
Well, I still follow the Phobos color scheme I have where the limbs are black, so that's how you know it's stealthy, you know.
Good
but
job,
also
man.
it's preposterous that it's supposed to be stealthy in the first place. This is a walking tank the size of like a 2-story building. I love it.
Well, so I mean, remember,
This
Raven
is
Guard
Warhammer.
Primaris Space Marines are supposed to be stealthy, and they're all like 8 feet tall and 500 pounds in full plate mail with a literal nuclear reactor on their backs. And they can pull it off. So, hey.
And often jetpacks and chainsaws. Yeah. Masters of stealth. Those guys with jetpacks and chainsaws. So, of course, I didn't stop there.
No, why would you?
I also painted the Phobos captain from Shadowspear.
Yes,
and
you
did. I'm not gonna lie, I did not like this model until I started painting him. I did a head swap and I got the servo skull off his knee, and I just had a blast painting him over the course of like 2 days. I like this model a lot more that I've actually gotten to get the brush to it.
So that's actually, I think, how I felt about that model too. I felt that in the Shadowspear box set, it was the weakest of the sculpts.
Yes.
But then when you start painting it, it's got this wonderful open stance, and it's like it just shows off all the like little bits and bobs on him really, really well.
Yeah.
So I kept the Servo Skull on.
I gotta paint heraldry somewhere.
I feel you. Yeah, it's okay.
But I also, speaking of models I wasn't crazy about them having fun with now, I started working on Tigurius, who I'm actually probably most of the way done with. I just need to paint his backpack. I haven't even touched that yet, but the model, like the dude himself, is pretty much there.
You've done a fantastic job on the cloak that he's wearing.
Thank you. Just honestly, Lamian Medium it's a secret. It's an amazing secret weapon. Just successive thin layers of red, just building it up is how I got that cloak to look the way it does. It's not quite so smooth in person, but it looks amazing on the tabletop.
Yeah, I'm very, very impressed by your work on Tigurius so far.
Thank you.
Do you say Tigurius or Tigurius?
Old Tiggy? Whatever.
I say Tigurius with the emphasis on the "ur."
I've always said
Tigurius.
Tigurius. It's the G is actually silent. It's Tigurius. Are you Tigurius? I'm Tigurius.
Are you Tigurius? Okay, Tigurius. Okay, you know what?
This has run its course. It's fine. I think the GW Studio scheme for him is frankly very well painted, but really drab. Like he's just this one shade of dark
ultramarine.
blue.
So,
he's drab for an ultramarine.
Boom.
And I brought him from drab to fab. I got a bunch of colors on him. He's got yellow and red and golds and blues, and actually like has colored trim, so he's not just all one shade of dark blue. And I like him a lot better now because, again, I was not excited about him because of how drab the studio scheme was for him.
Well, I think you've been doing a fantastic job with the stuff you've painted so far. You're putting me to shame big time, and I promise to pick it up in the new year. Oh, I figured out a theme for my Blood Bowl team that I'm going to do for Adepticon.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
I'm doing Pro Elves, and they're going to be called the Baja Blasters.
Okay.
You know the drink from Taco Bell?
I'm very much aware of the Baja Blast and the Baja Blast Margarita.
Oh, Dan, you're not going to tell me
about the Baja Blast.
Yeah, Baja Blasters. So
are you trying to tell me about Yum Brands' exclusive Mountain Dew Baja Blast, only available at Taco Bell? Yum Brands, also owned by PepsiCo, who owns Mountain Dew. Yeah,
I think Yum Brands actually owns PepsiCo. I think Yum Brands is the umbrella company there.
Okay,
not Umbrella Corporation.
No, the Yumbrella, if you will. A friend of mine has a punk band, or they had a punk band called Baja Blatz, Blatz. They only did one demo tape, but it was wonderful. I saw them live once.
All right. Yeah. So the Baja Blasters, I'm gonna use a Taco Bell themed color palette for these guys.
All right. My favorite thing about Taco Bell is the sauce packs that have not jokes on them.
Yeah.
Like you pick it up and it just says like
eat
lit,
me,
and that's it.
Eat
I'm
me,
like, cool.
fucker.
Put me challenges.
Put me on your garbage, you piece of shit.
You're no better than the tacos you devour.
Lick me off the floor, you fucking animal.
Oh my god, that's even better than the typical hot sauce brand names where it's like Atomic Rectum Cleaner. Everything spicy has to be a challenge, or else what's the point?
Blaster 9000. Oh,
Houston,
God.
we are clear for liftoff. All right, have you played any games lately?
No,
I played a game. Have you played games?
I've been too busy, but you are the person who goes first with games played. So before I say that I haven't played any games, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your games?
Man, you have more of a... Yeah, I'm way loosey-goosier than you on this one, I guess. All right, I had one game, and this one was again against my dad, because we didn't get to finish our whole, like, wild one. So we just did a straight up 75 power level game because lists are hard and I'm building lists for both of us. So I give him a Valhallan army with like a bunch of infantry squads, a pair of Leman Russes, a Basilisk, and a bunch of Tempestus Scions to drop in. Just like a nice, well-rounded force because I know that's the kind of army he likes to take. And I just took a pretty standard Ultramarine battle pile with like suppressors, eliminators, and reavers to support.
So you kicked his ass.
Yeah, you know how you're always like, Campbell, you play it against like, you know, people who do charity work and feed the hungry and house the homeless. Oh, you played against Jimmy Carter? You played against him so bad he got hospitalized? Oh, no. Like, that's what happens. Again, I play against a wonderful, kind person who I love dearly, and I destroy them. Now, I will say it was a game with only a handful of models left on the table where I, had like maybe a dozen guys or so, but I still ended up winning 16-9.
A dozen is not a handful. A dozen is more than 2 handfuls.
Well, one of the dozen was Vulpes Vulci.
Oh, God damn it.
But unfortunately, my repulsor didn't live past turn 1. This was a game where I'd fire 10 bolt rifle shots, miss 9 of them. I'd fire my snipers every turn, miss 2 out of 3 of their shots, which happens every time. And like my dice were like garbage until I had to make saves, and then I just wouldn't fail saves. I would just like make like 5 up, 6 up saves left and right. And then by the time I got, I'm always in rapid fire range. I'm an Ultramarine with my bolt rifles on his guardsmen. They would just disappear.
Yeah, well.
It was a fun game. Like I did try. It was like a very mobile game where I tried to like Guns of Navarone his Basilisk with my Reaver squads, which they didn't really do because they can't really damage vehicles reliably or do much at all. While he dropped his Stormtroopers behind them to kind of like counter drop them and also loop around into my backfield objective. We played the Beachhead mission from Chapter 2 2018, which I really like. And it was like a fun mobile game, but it still ended up boiling down to. Oh, no, there's no such thing as a fun mobile game.
Oh. Take that, mobile game developers. our core demographic, no!
No, I know of at least one person who makes a mobile game occasionally who listens to the show. Maybe no!
So you stomped the life out of your dad?
Again, yes.
God, you're a terrible son.
I'm not going to get into that one, but yes.
But yes, I am.
Not challenging this one iota.
All right. So I have not played any games.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was for his birthday too. Happy birthday, Dad. I gave you an ass whooping. I mean, I did.
Happy birthday, you old piece of shit. Now get ready to get your ass kicked.
What's the bit that Homer Simpson says where he says the proudest moment of his life was when he found out he could do most things better than his dad, and Bart figured that out when he was 10?
Oh, it's so sad.
I love my dad. I bought him the typical Revere peace offering of a giant deep fried mashed potato log afterwards.
A deep fried mashed potato log?
It's called a Monster Tot. You get a giant, it's a certain pizza joint sells it in Revere, and it's a giant deep fried mashed potato log that they then cover with, in this case, buffalo chicken and macaroni and cheese.
It sounds amazing.
It's a wonderful, like, just like straight into your bodily dumpster kind of food. You know who you are and what you are when you ingest the deep fried mashed potato log.
Yeah, I love it.
The Monster Tot happens to you and you accept it.
I love it, man. That's good shit right there. The Monster Tot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've been playing the games.
Okay.
But I have been helping my dad. He's off bird watching in Colombia or some shit. So I've been looking after his cats. I haven't been stomping him into the fucking dirt like you do.
Because that's cruel. Well, your dad's getting to go do his most dadly thing imaginable, so I'm happy for him.
Yeah, he's killing it, man. That's what you do when when you retire, I guess.
When you get to retire.
Just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
If you can get a job with the federal government starting in the early 1970s, I highly recommend it.
I'll start taking notes.
Yeah.
Any whomst, there is this thing called Warhammer, and new stuff is coming out for it literally all the time. So let's talk about some of the new stuff.
I have a list. Okay, first I want to start with Dered Gabo.
I enjoy him, his rules are hilarious.
I don't know what his rules are. I think they're released on Community like today or yesterday.
Yeah, he can give stick bombs to a unit for free, like every turn. Yeah, he gives us gifts.
That's fun. Yeah, it's a whole lot of socialism jokes for a character that's all about buying people stuff for Christmas.
Yes. Yeah, it's a really weird fit.
A little bit of cognitive dissonance there, Crumbles.
Yeah. I don't even have anything. I am confused. I am very confused. I can enjoy the model as like, ooh, it's a Grot Santa, but he's also a communist working class Grot who champions the working class. What? I don't understand. Like, imagine this, the calculus equations going up around my head because I do not understand what I'm looking at with it.
Yeah, it's a tough one to parse. The model's fun though.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's even better than the old Tellian Santa Claus conversion I saw back in the day because he gives scouts camo cloaks.
I thought he makes them troops.
No, he makes bikes troops.
Oh, God. Okay. Psychic Awakening keeps coming out.
Yeah, but this one I actually care about.
Well,
because this one has Black Templars in it.
The first one, and y'all, I can hear the 40K competitive community, the three of you that listen to our show, like I can hear you howling in rage because I have not been paying attention to Psychic Awakening like at all. So apparently the first one made elves better because they needed that.
They
the Eldar players are going to get mad at me now. That's right.
Elf
Fuck
bullshit
you
lives.
guys. Marine players for life. No, so the elves got better in the first Psychic Awakening because great, whatever. So there's like a bunch of new traits and a bunch of new rules and a bunch of new, what do you call it? Like chapter tactics or whatever?
Like chapter tactic type things and Exarch abilities and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And so like, of course, Crimson Hunter Exarchs got new shit because that's a unit that needed an upgrade, right? Right? Am I right? So this next Psychic Awakening buffs Marines.
Who need it also.
Who, again, need it. So, the rich are certainly getting richer here with Psychic Awakening. However...
The system works.
The system, it works to preserve the status quo. The system is working to keep the system alive. It's perfect.
For a vision of the future, just imagine a Space Marine boot kicking an Eldar face forever.
But your Black Templars are getting rules.
Yeah, so they're getting like most of a supplement worth of rules, which makes me think they're like, we have almost enough to do a Black Templar supplement, but we don't have the resources to write a bunch of new lore and draw a bunch of new artwork. So we're just going to roll this into this ongoing campaign series because all the Chaos Marine stuff is in there. Like there's a bunch of like chapter tactic type things for Chaos Marines, but they're getting like 2 pages each, while Templars basically get a Codex expansion.
We got to have Rob on the show so he can just complain about how Chaos are mistreated.
I think my doctor would advise against me in taking that much sodium in one sitting.
He's so mad.
He is so mad.
Whatever, fuck that guy.
Oh, no, I love Rob.
Okay, so Psychic Awakening, I mean, I haven't played Game of 40K since Nova. I imagine Psychic Awakening is just making things worse. Here's the thing. Oh, God, I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it.
Did 40K need more rules?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a lot of this is just kind of going to complicate things further because like the Vigilus books, I liked those a lot because, well, they're contained. There's only 2 of them. But also it's mostly just like, here's a bunch of optional games you can play. Like you can play in this war zone or this sort of environment. Like it's a campaign book. And then it has like a little bit of extra rules, like the little like extra detachment type things that I never even paid any attention to. Like there was a little bit of rules in there, but there wasn't a ton. And most of the rules that were in there were like Chaos Space Marine rules that just got ported over to the Chaos Space Marine Codex. With this, it seems like these are a narrative focus, but they're also very rules heavy. And I feel like we're starting to layer it on pretty heavy again. It's feeling a little 7th edition-y, and I'm not super thrilled about it.
Yeah, so a few episodes ago, I was, talking shit about how people who think that there's too many rules in the 40K are dumb or whatever. Now, I think I was pushing back against somebody who said that Index Hammer was better than what 8th edition is now. And while I still will hold to that, man, there's a lot of fucking rules bloat going on, especially if you're a Marine player right now.
There was a nice middle ground for a little while, and it's been surpassed. Like when I played against my dad, I seriously barely used the Ultramarines half of that book because I'm like, I don't want to be like, hey, Dad, this game you get to play once in a while. I've got a whole book full of gotchas right here, and I'm going to start throwing them out there because there's so goddamn much. Like I like a lot about it, but it's kind of GW's making me smoke the whole pack with this one,
Yeah, no, I feel you. So I don't know. Maybe maybe we're being too old guy, get off our lawny kind of okay boomer stuff, but like it's, man, the Psychic Awakening stuff, I can't just outright say it's good. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the releases that they do for 8th edition, I'm like, hell yeah, this is fucking awesome. This is tight. The Psychic Awakening stuff just seems like, a little more pay to play bullshit.
I mean, I don't know if it's actually advantageous or just going to be somewhat advantageous because people might not be as familiar with it.
If they were buffing factions that needed it, or making units that were previously not very good, I'd be all about it. But they're literally making the rich richer.
So far, yeah, but we'll see where it goes.
But maybe, I mean, again,
it's supposed to touch every faction at some point. So maybe Psychic Awakening 3 is like Return of the Necrons.
We got to look at their motivations here too.
Of course.
It's not player service. It's not a balanced game. It's make money.
Yeah.
So maybe we should. Maybe I should chill the fuck out.
I mean, you don't have to play with it. Someone else might play with it, but you don't got to. I mean,
I'm gonna buy it.
I'm gonna get the second one because I want Templar rules. I gotta have.
Yeah, I gotta stay up on these things. Thankfully though, Goonhammer's around, and they'll ballpark it for you with some of those great articles written by our friends. So that's
what we call.
Okay. Well, Psychic Awakening. Let's move on.
The one thing I will say about that is good about Psychic Awakening before we move off that is it is doing new models for stuff. Oh yeah. Like the Eldar, Banshees and Incubi getting plastics.
Don't mention that one yet.
Okay. I'll say Psychic Awakening.
Saving that one for last.
Okay. No, I will say that one for last. But I will say the Chaos Sorcerer I think is pretty cool, but he needs a hat. I like the Chaos Sorcerers with these silly hats more.
I like that model a lot. I think it's really, really good.
I'm always iffy about characters just kind of holding a basically a 3D printed JPEG in their hands. Like there's a bunch in Age of Sigmar like that.
It's a very Sigmar kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. All right, let's move on. Dark Uprising.
That's a dummy thick box of plastic.
Crumbles. I have a copy of it. And it's enormous.
I entered a bunch of Instagram giveaways for it.
It also costs $290.
It also weighs 10 pounds and 4 ounces, according to Dylan.
It's huge, and it comes with so much. I have had the time to open it, look at the sprues, say, oh, wow, man, that's a lot of sprues, and then close it, pack it in a box, and take it over to my new house. That's all I've been able to do with it. I have looked at the Book of Ruin a whole lot, which we'll get to in just a moment, but the Dark Uprising box has fucking everything, dude. Yeah,
it looks like it has a kind of a back-breaking amount of plastic inside it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to that shit, but oh, God, the terrain is so good.
I know. You can finally make a bonfire with all that MDF terrain and burn it and have some nicer plastic terrain.
The MDF terrain has a use, and I'm going to tell you and the listeners about that use because the terrain in the Dark Uprising box is a lie. At the very least, it is misnamed because it is not, in parlance with Necromunda speak, it is not Zone Mortalis terrain. Zone Mortalis refers to the tiles, refers to a type of game, those cardboard tiles that you use to put out a game, that you procedurally generate with your opponent.
If you want to.
That's what Zone Mortalis references. But in this case, it's a Sector Mechanicus terrain set that's called a Zone Mortalis terrain set because Necromunda needs to be more confusing.
Do you also want to talk about how there's a Primaris Rhino that isn't for Primaris Space Marines, and there's a Primaris Psyker who's not a Primaris Space Marine either? There's redundancies. There's only so much faux Latin they can jam in there, all right?
It's true. It's true. No, the terrain looks fantastic, and it will make an extremely good Sector Mechanicus board.
Or an extremely good Zone Mortalis one. You can still make it.
What are you talking about?
Like Zone Mortalis, like think about like how you've got the blacked out portions where there's supposed to be walls and so on. Like it's supposed to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't come with enough walls for.
Yeah, I won't say it comes to enough to do it, but that's the idea.
Yeah, if you bought 4 sets, you could probably get away with it.
That's only like $1,000, whatever, man. You don't have a few G's to drop on some plastic?
I certainly fucking don't. Not after this whole house buying experience.
Over here on the 40K Boogecast.
That's for sure. Yeah, so the box is great. It has a lot of cool stuff in it. The terrain is fantastic. if they start selling that stuff on its own, it's going to be like that. That's, chef's kiss right there. That's fantastic.
They'd be stupid not to.
They're selling terrain tiles.
Yep, they replaced the old resin ones.
Plastic tiles, which they're selling them in 4-packs, and 4 of them is not enough to play a game of Zone or not Zone Mortalis, Sector Mechanicus. I'm getting confused now for Necromunda. A 2x2 is too small for Necromunda.
Yeah, that's real cramped.
You play Sector Mechanicus games on 4x4s. However, a 4x4. You might need some help doing the math here, Campbell. That's 16 of these tiles.
Yes, it's 4 boxes, right?
It's 4 boxes of those tiles.
And how much is a box?
$70, I think.
So $280. Ouch. All right.
To go with your 4 boxes of Dark Arbor, which is $1,200.
Okay, I will.
You're only in it for $1,500 at this point.
Necromunda is a low entry point, guys. All right, so I will say, buying like terrain tables and so on, like my Realm Battle board, I got it back before they raised the price when it was still $170, I think. Yeah, that's like $290 now.
Yeah,
so you'd be spending like $300 for like a 4x6 table ish, somewhere in that kind of range. I'm not saying it's my favorite thing in the world, but it's pretty consistent across the sort of industry. Like even when Secret Weapon was doing those tiles before they apparently got stolen by somebody, I think it was kind of a similar price point as well.
Yeah, so the I think the box is really cool because you get the excellent Corpse Grinder gang and the extremely cool Enforcers plus Subjugators, the new sprue for them. So
the Riot Shields are so cool.
The models for these fucking things are out of this world. Again, like the Necromunda models just keep putting out extremely good shit. And this is no exception. Somebody on Twitter did a little tutorial about staircases with the terrain in Dark Uprising and how to make like cool structures and stuff with it. It looks extremely good. I have a dream of making, like, taking the 1x1 plastic tiles and making a modular table with them.
Yeah.
Like just having them and having like terrain and stuff stacked on them. And like, I think that would be just about the coolest fucking thing.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. You could do that for a spaceship or for a Zone Mortalis or for a sewer system or whatever for 40k or Necro. Yeah.
Oh, God, man, that would be... you'd have to get like 16 of them. I know, I was about to say our friend Dylan.
Talk to Dylan.
I know he would love to do something like that.
Yeah, he's already done that.
Well, yeah, he has. But I think his things are 2x2s.
They're 1 foot by 1 foot tiles.
Okay, so he has done exactly that, but without...
Yeah.
But without, not in plastic, mostly plastic card and some plastic and some other bits and bobs, right?
Yeah. And that's at 40k Ham Slam on Instagram. You should seriously check his terrain out. It's incredible.
is fucking wild. It's pretty cool. Okay, so the Book of Ruin. Book of Ruin comes out, and this introduces a lot of fun shit to the game. Corpse Grinder cults, of course, are in. Those are the big, mean, choppy boys from the Dark Uprising set. They are extremely terrifying.
Yeah, they're very fast, and they hit really hard.
Yeah, they don't have the staying power of Goliaths or Orlocks, though, because they don't have access to the ferocity stratagems. But they're scary guys with the double axe, two-handed or two-hand, whatever, the double axes. Like you have to pass willpower checks to attack them and stuff.
Yeah,
like they have their built-in toughness stuff. They have a bunch of built-in speed upgrades, and they can field the most infiltrators off the bat.
Yeah,
of any
which
gang.
Is insane. Which again, for a melee gang, is fantastic.
Yeah, extremely good. And all of those infiltrators can have hand flamers if you want.
What? I thought. Oh, okay. Well, are they juves?
Yeah.
Oh, because only their juves can get guns. Okay, that's nasty.
Yeah.
So, all right, I haven't gotten to look over. Of course, why not? I haven't gotten to look over Book of Ruin because I don't own it. But from previews I've seen and so on, I have seen 2 details that really stand out to me. One is there is a mission just called Meat.
Yep.
And there's also a character named Queen Lorcia of Skullhole.
Yes. So Queen Lorcia is like a melee outlaw hive scum. She's terrible. Yeah. She's complete garbage.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that.
She's also like 100 credits though, so it's not like so it's not so bad. Yeah. But the Meat the multiplayer mission, because that's a multiplayer, is basically a zombie mission.
Yeah.
A bunch of cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers come up and try to eat the gangs, and you have to defend yourself. It looks like a ton of fun, actually. So let's get into the Book of Ruin real quick. A couple of standout things. One, the missions across the board are extremely flavorful and look to be a ton of fun. There is the usual mix of good missions that are like kind of even on both sides for the attacker and the defender. And then, of course, there are a couple standouts which will just cause the defender to have 6 to 8 lasting injury rolls at the end of the game and probably won't be any fun. But look forward in a couple of weeks to goonhammer.com, where Jules and I, who we do the Necromunda feature every Monday morning on Goonhammer, we're going to talk about missions and maybe designing a better way to roll for missions so you avoid these missions that are just completely bad. So look forward to that. But the missions, the ones that are good, look really, really good. There's one called Meat Harvest. So there's meat.
And then Meat Harvest.
Also
okay,
Meat
cool.
Harvest, which has a bunch of Underhive civilians running around in it. And one gang is trying to murder as many of them as possible for their meat.
Wow.
So they can eat them.
What was all that about 40K not being grimdark anymore? I've seen some shitheads saying on the internet.
Okay, the corpse grinders. Let's get into the backstory of these real quick because it's real fucking dark. There's the corpse grinder cult, the Mercator Pallidus, right? And they are the ones that take dead bodies in Necromunda and they process them into people's food. They make Soylent Green, right?
Corpse starch, yeah.
Yeah, corpse starch. The corpse grinder cults are people that have worked for the corpse grinders, gone insane because of the work that they've been doing is terrible, grinding up dead bodies for food, and they have started lusting for the warm flesh of the recently deceased. And what's the best way to get somebody to be recently deceased? Why, Campbell, it's to kill them.
Usually with a sharp thing.
And so, of course, these people go crazy, and the insidious influence of chaos weasels in, and old blood god himself, Mr. Korn, comes in and says, "Hey, fellas, do I have something you guys might be interested in right over here?" And of course, it's insanity and chaos.
Of course, which I like. Again, it's been kind of a theme for a while, is exploring chaos in non-traditional ways or whatever was the name of the episode we did a while ago. And this is that again, where it is like, yeah, they're very clearly like a Khorne cult, but they're not, they don't know they're a Khorne cult. They just know some voices are talking to them and they want to stab things really hard.
Yeah. So another really cool part of this book, and this will be the last thing before we move on, is you can take your regular house gang, Campbell, and you can infect them or corrupt them.
Yeah, because rules sprawl. Yay.
Yay. So you can take like my Orlocks and I can be like, man, these Orlocks are cool, but I've used them in a couple of campaigns. What's a fun way to spice up this campaign? Well, I can dedicate them to a Chaos God and they get a bunch of bonuses and some drawbacks from that.
Yeah, which I like.
But the real thing is getting infected by a Gene Stealer cult.
Yeah, because that's when you start getting extra limbs and shit.
Yeah, you can. Well, once you're infected by Gene Stealer cult, you can start hiring hybrid Juves, and they have 3 arms.
Yeah. Well, Peter already started converting some for his Eschers.
I know, he's a total mad lad. So the best part of this getting infected by Gene Stealer cult gang, like there are mechanics to get infected. You have to like pass an intelligence check and like meet your infectors or whatever, or you can ask a player in your campaign who's running a Gene Stealer cult gang to infect you.
Oh my
and
God.
Then you're just infected now. No rolls, no nothing. You're just in.
That's hilarious.
How cool is that?
Silly game. That's the role-playing shit right there.
That's the kind of shit that gets me so pumped about Necromunda. Like, it's so fun to do stuff like that. Like, okay, yeah. Well, anyways, guys, if you want to read more about this and you're on the fence about picking up the Book of Ruin, go over to goonhammer.com. Just 2 days ago on Monday, Jules and I released an article, What's New with the Book of Ruin, and we break down the whole dang thing for you. We didn't cover Corpse Grinders too much because we're going to be doing that next week in like a deep dive article, but head on over to Goonhammer, check out our Book of Ruin article, and see if you want to pick up the book or not.
I'm thinking I might.
Oh, 2 more things of new stuff before we move on. One, Sisters of Battle. The Battle Box came out, and it's sold out.
Yeah, it's if you're hearing this, it is sold out.
Don't try to get it, because you can't.
Unless you can find it. Some like local game stores might have it, but your chances are slim.
Yeah, and it's probably real fucking expensive on eBay. So
yeah,
wait
I
till
imagine
they
this
re-release it or something.
Well, the thing is, it's all like monopose type models or single build models, which the trend I'm seeing is that's what's going into start collecting boxes, because that's what they did with Shadow Spear. They broke that into 2 start collecting boxes.
Yep.
That's what's coming up with the upcoming Slaves to Darkness, with that incredible set of new Chaos Warriors and Chaos Knights and that Chaos Lord, which I'm buying into that. I'm saying that right now. I'm buying into that.
Okay.
But that is also, single pose sort of mono build kits. I imagine this will be put into a mono build kit of most of the stuff in the box, and then they'll release some of the other stuff separately.
Yeah. So the sisters look fantastic. They've released more images of some of the stuff, including some sort of like floating pulpit mechanism that looks amazing.
And the best hat in 40K, which is on the Exorcist gunner. Where it's like, what if your hat was also a church? And what if that church was also a piece of armor? Well, have we got the hat for you?
Yeah, only featured on Warlord Titans previously, but now the Exorcist driver has got it too.
It's a true democratization of the church hat.
We've been gushing about Sisters models for a while now, and they're just knocking out of the park with the sculpts and stuff. And I'm really excited for Sisters players, and I can't wait to see some armies on the table.
Agreed. Same. On all accounts.
Last thing.
Last bloody thing.
You know it. You love him. He's back. He is the original vampire space wizard. Mephiston, the Lord of Death, has been reimagined as a Primaris Space Marine. And buddy, ooh! What's that?
Yep.
What's that?
I didn't know you were breaking out your Prince impression already. Yeah, no, it's it's like I'm like, I saw that when I was like working on Tigurius, and I'm just like,
I'm feeling it.
I kind of just wanted to like throw it behind me and get the new guy.
God, Blood
like,
Angels
model's fine,
players.
But ooh, that Mephiston's a good fucking model.
They
dude.
based it off of some of the coolest
Mark Gibbons artwork
that has ever existed for Warhammer 40,000. That Mark Gibbons piece from the original Angels of Death Codex in 2nd edition, and oh God. Damn, that's a good fucking model, man. He's got the curly hair. He's got the mean stare. He's got the plasma gun. He's got the fucking sword that probably wouldn't really work as a sword because it's got spikes on the front, and that's not where you want the spikes on the sword. But fuck it, dude. He's killing it.
Yeah, no, that model is top to bottom incredible. I will say, anyone who models him with a plasma pistol sticking out is lying to themselves. You have to have him wiping the blood off his mouth. He's so much cooler that way.
Oh, is that a thing you can do?
Yeah, there's 2 builds. You can build him with the pistol out or wiping the blood off his face. And the wiping the blood off his face is what does make it exactly that piece of Mark Gibbons artwork.
So here's the thing. Yeah. Primaris Marines are supposed to be more genetically pure than their little brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But Mephiston is clearly still a vampire space wizard.
Absolutely, because he's the one dude who overcame the Black Rage.
God, he's going to be an absolute fucker on the table, too.
Like, I was thinking with Tigurius, I'm like, why is this dude Primarist? Because his actual strength is not him having more wounds or hitting hard or whatever. It's him staying behind the front line and throwing mind bullets everywhere.
Right.
Mephiston actually is like an in-your-face, fuck-you-up kind of dude. Yeah. And he's only going to be a more in-your-face, more fuck-you-up kind of dude.
He's going to have, like, fucking strength 40, a bajillion attacks.
This is my psychic Cuisinart. Please step inside.
Well, it's a really cool model, gang. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And I'm a little jelly of these Blood Angel players that get to put that guy on the field. I can't wait to see how people paint him up.
I'm looking forward to seeing like the real blanchet he takes in the paint job of him too. Like that model's good.
All right,
that model's good.
Let's make a call.
Okay. All right. Someone's calling me. Never mind. This joke didn't work.
That literally happened to me during the show.
Okay. Yeah, someone just rang my doorbell. I didn't answer it.
Nice. Yeah. Somebody coming to your house? Never.
What kind of pervert comes to my house?
What kind of pervert rings a doorbell? Send a text at 3 a.m. like a civilized human.
Like an adult.
That I'm going to ignore for 3 whole days. Before I give you a 1-word answer back.
Okay.
All right, this one's from JF39 via email.
It's a good Christian name.
My Palanite enforcers are actually why I'm writing, though. He had a big email, so I'll skip to it. As amazing as these models are, they aren't much better than push fits. You get version A and version B of each model. I'm amazed that we call these multi-part plastic kits like we might for the Space Marine Tactical Squad. These are not customizable and they are not user-friendly. I've been noticing this for a while in Games Workshop kits. What do you guys think about it? How are you working around that? Specifically, I planned an Enforcer gang nearly identical to Merton's 1,000 cred starting gang, blah, 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 blah. Then I went to build it. There's only one arm with a concussion carbine, and there are no weapon arms with a hand that could be credling, and these hands are a weapon, super infuriating. What do you guys think about a game designed for quote-unquote characters where there is little to no character in the models because they don't multi-pose well?
I won't say there's no character in them. I'd say there's a lot of character in them, but the character in the model is dictated by the sculptor, not by the builder. Because like the old multi-part tactical squad kit where you can, everything's on kind of a ball joint or a flat joint, you can pose them however you want, which means you invariably end up with the dude with his arms pointing a gun up and his head facing away from it. Every tactical squad had them, like by law, apparently. But it didn't really give the models more character. It meant you could make them yours, but at the end of the day, when you have 150 Cadians on the table, it doesn't matter if they're multi-part plastics or if they're single-piece metals. There's only so many poses you're really going to put them in. And there's only so many poses the sculptors can put them in reasonably, unless everything is something like an action figure sort of ball and socket joint. Now, we've talked about some of these problems before with models being kind of prescriptive. Like even just a minute ago, we talked about the Warriors of Chaos box and the Sisters of Battle box where they're both going to be, single pose with all the models. And yeah, it does suck when you have like a squad with 3 of the same dude in it or whatever. So it does behoove GW to have multiple options for these sorts of things and not have that be the only option. But with Necromunda, you're only going to have like a dozen dudes or so on the tabletop. So you're probably not going to get a lot of repeated poses. Now, I've also noticed that the Necromunda models are more prescriptive than typical 40k models, like almost to a T. Like the Goliaths, all these very awkward joints where their arms are that once they're all together look perfect, but you can only build them in so many ways. And I'm guessing it's the same with pretty much every other gang that I've seen. Was that your experience with the Orlocks?
Absolutely not. Orlocks are extremely customizable.
That must be nice.
Yeah.
I think Dalak and Escher and Goliath, if I'm correct, are pretty prescriptive in how you can build them. Like you can, have this guy's head facing that way, or put these arms in this body, these arms in that body. Like they're not that exact, but like even if you open a Space Marine Tactical or Intercessor kit or Reaver kit, it'll be like this body, these arms, this body, these arms. It recommends them, but you don't have to build them that way. And I definitely went off script for most of my Reavers, and I will be doing that for my Intercessors too.
Well, I wanted you to answer this question specifically because you've worked with Goliaths, and Goliaths come together a certain way each one.
Right.
And there's, I think in the Goliath box of 10, there are 2 ways to build each body with 2 weapons.
Pretty much, yeah. You have like one chest plate versus another chest plate, and then you're just down to the weapons at that point.
So, like, is that a problem to you? Do you think that, like, I'm pretty sure it's the same way with Enforcers, that you have 2 ways to build each body?
I don't know. All right. The thing is, it's a problem for the middle ground of the hobby effort you can put in. Like let's just say the lowest level effort for putting them all together is a push fit, and the highest is, sculpting, using green stuff to sculpt custom parts and make things work. And if you're kind of more towards the middle of there's not really a lot you can do to make the models your own unless you paint them a certain way or are very particular with like what Forge World bits you use, because a lot of the customization does come from expensive Forge World bits packs. But I don't know, you might be able to mix some of the new Enforcer parts with the new Riot Shield guy parts to maybe get a bit more variety in there too. I'm just guessing out here.
Well,
I don't know. I don't think it's a problem. I'm conflicted, if you can't tell. Like, I'm talking a lot and kind of talking in circles here. I'm a little conflicted about it because I like how characterful these poses are. A lot of the time, it reminds me more of when models were like, oh, there's 10 Space Marines and they're all these single piece metal models and each one's kind of characterful or whatever. It reminds you a little bit more of that sort of era of design in a lot of ways, unless the designers take a lot more ownership over how they want a model to present. But it does take some of that away from the user, or put pretty much all of that into the hands of how you paint them or how you convert them.
Well, I think one of the issues is that as models get more and more detailed, they have to cut them up for the sprues in different ways. And
Absolutely.
like the idea is you want to make the sprue as efficient as possible with the smallest amount of room taken up with the most amount of detail, right?
Right.
So a lot of times you're going to get awkward joins. Now, some models are better. Like, so if you take the Shadow Spear Eliminators, they have big seams in their cloaks.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You take the multi-part kit Eliminators, which the bodies are not, like, you can build them in one way for the bodies. Now, they have different guns and different arms or whatever. So I don't know. It's maybe that's not as much as JF wants for like how to build them, but like they don't have big gaps in their cloaks because they're cut a lot more cunningly because they're not sharing a sprue with 20 other models.
Right. A lot of the ways you can convert them now is instead of, say, legs, like separate leg piece, separate torso piece, click them together however you want, is you have like one torso piece that goes to one leg piece and you glue it together. And then after you glue it together, then you cut that and you can repose that a bit. I've done a little bit of that sort of thing. Yeah. And that's something I even suggested in the last episode.
That's a little bit advanced for a lot of people.
It is a little bit advanced. That's what I was saying is like if you're in the sort of middle ground, like where you just want to customize models out of a box without doing a lot of extra cutting and gap filling and so on, it's a little tough. And I understand that frustration. Like it's kind of a difficult leap to make from just the snap fit to the full on converter's dream sort of stuff. Like
Jeff, I get what you're saying. You want to have more options. But I don't think comparing the Enforcer's kit to the Space Marine Tactical Squad kit is a good comparison. The Space Marine Tactical Squad kit is likely, 9 to 10 years behind?
That version of the kit's from 2014, I think. But
okay, so 5 years.
It's a different design philosophy, though. Like, it is a very different design philosophy.
So 5 years behind in designing in detail and in execution. So I don't know, like it's a tough one because you if you want to go back to that sort of, much more modular aesthetic, then you're going to have to sacrifice detail and you're probably going to have to sacrifice dynamic posing and cool shit. Yeah. And I don't know. I think we're both a little conflicted on it. And I think that's a pretty good discussion to have and to think about, like where's the line that you want to have? What's the, do you want to come down on anybody can do anything, or do you want to come down on these models look really fucking cool?
Yeah. And we both started with, a combination of multi-part plastics where you can do whatever you want, like the old Space Marine Tactical Squad kit, and single piece metal models like your old Grey Knights or like my Valhallans or whatever, where they're just the way they are. Yeah. Unless you get real creative. And we've seen both sides of it. We've been on both sides of it, and we like both sides of it. And rectifying that the current direction is kind of more towards the monopose thing is a little conflicting. Yeah.
Well, great question, JF.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent work. Keep listening. Keep writing in, please. And listeners, contact at 40kbadcast.com. Send us questions for We Make the Call. Now, we are going to do a little bit of resurrection here, Crumbo.
That's what we do here a lot. It's a nice day for a resurrection.
We're going to bring back a little mini segment that we haven't done in, 30 episodes.
Something like that.
It's Fulgrim's Sounding Hole.
It's the companion piece to Fulgrim's Book Nook.
Yeah. So you listened to some stuff recently, and
I did.
I didn't. So this is really Campbell's Fulgrim's Sounding Hole. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what you've been listening to?
All right. So after finishing Rites of Passage, I'm like, I want to listen to something that's short, but also isn't so short it's unsatisfying. Because my problem is I got the Humble Bundle, and I think a few Humble Bundles of like 40K audiobooks. And unfortunately, a lot of them are these little 30-minute short stories where it's basically just two people talking in a room, and then one of them at the end going, "But I have this big revelation," and then the music swells and it's over. Like that is most, at least Horus Heresy short stories in my experience, regardless of the author. So I found, but I also didn't want to go into like a 15-hour journey, through some majestic epic. So I settled on actually the Magnus the Red Primarch book by Graham McNeil. So this is like a 200-page novella, which translates to it being like maybe 6-hour audiobook. And I thought it was super interesting. I feel like the whole Primarch series is kind of like the Space Marine Battles series, where people don't really expect all that much. It just might be some lip service to this character. But I really like this one because it isn't just, murder, death, kill, like combat the entire time. It's actually a story about Magnus and Perturabo in a humanitarian effort because it's pre-heresy. and it's them trying to figure out how to save the people on this planet that's falling apart and why this planet is falling apart. And I'm not going to give away too much about that whole story here because this isn't an in-depth book review or, 40K book club. But if you want to hear a story about how Space Marines and like their engines of war can be used in ways that aren't just murking dudes, it's a really cool story for that. But also because it's got, I feel like I'm kind of torn on this. Graham McNeil, like as an author, I found either I really like his work, like with 1,000 Suns or Mechanicum, or I hate it. Like his Ultramarines books, I do not care for, especially when there's like some weird shit in Dead Sky Black Sun. I think that's the one with the like Space Marine incubators and demon train, and the incubators are extremely not okay, so I'll not be talking about them right now. But this was a book where I definitely feel like he's kind of learned and grown as an author because he has these very loving relationships between just between men, like between Space Marines, like Magnus and Perturabo, like have a genuine brotherly love. And Ahriman and Thorax, who's like the bad guy from Storm of Iron, which he wrote like 20 years ago, have like a genuine bromance that you could very easily do a queer reading of because of just how they relate to each other. And I found it genuinely kind of heartwarming, which again, in a book about giant spacemen in giant power armor who spend a lot of time shooting things, was not what I expected to feel. So I listened to it on the audiobook, and I think it was in one of the Humble bundles, and I would recommend it. I would say Magnus by Graham McNeil is actually a pretty enjoyable book.
Hey, that's a great job, man. I never really that makes me want to read or listen to that book, which is something Perturabo and Magnus I have zero interest in. So good on you there. Also, Perturabo doing a humanitarian mission.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, at the end of the day, he's still Perturabo. Like, he's still a bit of a dick, but you do understand that these were people who were crafted to actually lead the galaxy and lead humanity onto its next step. And there's a lot of, the story goes into some places too, where it's like, a story with unknown forces that aren't just like, at the end of the day, gasp, it's a chaos force or whatever, which I really liked. But you see where these people came from. Like, it's one of the few times I've listened to like a Horus Heresy book in a while where I'm just thinking in the back of my head, like, their intentions were so good. They had so far to fall, and actually felt that while I was listening to it.
Cool. I love it when a piece of media evokes emotions.
I like it when I get to feel something when I'm listening to or reading a sci-fi story. I will say also the Primarchs series, the only other one I've read is the Gilliman one, which has like a very strong anti-nuclear bent to it. Weirdly, this one kind of does too. They feel more, for lack of a better term, they feel more sci-fi, like old school sci-fi in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like just with the ideas they tackle and how they tackle them. And there's a lot more like weird alien weirdness that isn't just, orcs, Eldar, Necrons, etc. I recommend the Magnus book. It's good.
I like it. Okay, well let's move on, and I want to talk a little about I want to talk about life for a while.
All right, we're living it after all.
You don't get that reference, do you?
If you explain it to me,
Nope.
Not only will it be funnier, but I'll get it at the end of the day.
Nope. Okay, so I want to talk about balancing life in the hobby right now because my life is in complete shambles at the moment. Like my belongings are all boxed up. My hobby station isn't because I am not an idiot and I pack that last always.
Smart.
But like I haven't played games in what feels like months. Is actually months. I played Necromunda, but I haven't played 40K in months. And like it's just been crazy for me lately. And so I'm feeling out of balance. It's not too much hobby. I'm experiencing too little hobby.
Right.
So I wanted to talk to you about how we can balance our lives better and how we can keep moving forward with our lives and keep doing the things we love doing. And interestingly enough, this is why I did the research on the old show notes before the show, because I thought we must have talked about this before.
It feels like something we would have talked about, but when I was writing up my own notes, maybe about 45 minutes ago, I was like, this seems like untreaded water.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Let's talk balancing our lives real quick. So I'm in a kind of a weird situation right now because like I'm moving. I bought a house and I'm moving into it. So before I can do anything else, I have to finish this.
Right.
So it's not so much as balance for me. It's more of like getting through the thing that I have to do. And well, I'm excited to have a house and all that stuff and like move into it and have more space for hams and, can host games and whatever. But I feel like I've been neglecting my hobby. And I've been trying to paint, but when you're as busy as I've been with like work and this moving and all that shit lately, like I can do about 45 minutes and I'm just like, all right, I'm done.
Oof.
So I'm feeling a little unbalanced right now.
I get that. So, well, it's like,
so what can I do, man? What can I do to make me feel better? Even though I don't really have the time, I certainly don't have the time for games, and I, have been struggling to find time for painting.
I mean, that's one of the beauties of this hobby and how fucking all encompassing it is there's like, you're not just engaging with the hobby with gaming and playing. Like, yes, those are the things that bring the most satisfaction for at least you and I imagine. Not for everybody, but for you and I, that is. But that's why there's books, man. That's why there's audiobooks. That's why there's battle reports and so on. But I do find that when you do spend a lot of time watching like other people play games, you just feel really bad that you're not playing them.
Yeah, I keep, hearing about other people's games. I'm like, man, I want to do that.
Yeah, no, been there, done that.
I keep hearing about your fucking hobby progress, and I'm like, God damn it.
Well, the secret is you need to work from home.
Yeah, I would if I could there, fella.
Yeah, I know. That's a note I'll get to later on. But like the hobby is important to you, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Like everyone has their own things to take away from it, but finding a way to make time and space for it is, honestly pretty paramount. Like depending, like it gives me a lot. I know it gives you a lot, and finding the time to make it work for us is really important. Like, yeah, you can't prioritize it over life or death stuff unless, your hobby is how you put food on the table. There's usually going to be more pressing things like you're dealing with right now. But it is important to try to find some way to engage with it in some way. Like when I moved out of an apartment a few times ago, I had actually packed up my painting station stuff first, because I am a fucking brain idiot. And I'm just like, okay, shit, what do I do? I want to paint something, but I have nothing to paint. I packed everything up and I looked and I'm like, oh, I have the pipelines, like the Promethean pipelines. I had them built and primed, and they were at the top of a box of things. So I just dug them out. I went to a comic book store and just picked up a paintbrush and some paint and just worked on them, just because I had to find a way to work on stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was like such fucking like trash goblin sort of way to work on this thing. It's like a massive dry brush on a piece of parchment paper as my painting station. Yeah. It was horrible. Don't recommend it, but you make do.
Sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to put the crust in crust punk.
That's a sign you need to fish your display board out of the recycling bin.
We've done that.
Oh, yes, we have.
Yeah. So one of the things I've actually found has been helping me out a lot, because I look at like hobby time for me as kind of like self-care. Because
absolutely,
I get immense satisfaction from the connections we make or the people we know. Sitting and painting, like it calms me down. It makes me feel better. And one of the things that I found helps me out is honestly like engaging with the community, talking. And I've been talking with Jules, our Necromunda friend, so much about this campaign I'm doing and bouncing ideas off, back and forth there. And then I've been working on some stuff for Nova Open with a couple of friends also. So like I've been able to, I don't know, immerse myself, maybe not in playing or painting, but sort of planning and organizing.
Hobby-related administration.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And I have felt that has helped me, like, because I can do that. I can send messages to Jules like while I'm at work or at night or something while I'm doing something else, or I can like write something up or write an email up or write up my my primer for my Necromunda campaign, like without having to sit down for an hour and just like do it. I can just do it in little bits and pieces, and that helps me stay connected and makes me feel pretty good. So it's like it's like non-hobby related, or you said hobby administrative tasks.
Well, I feel like these all kind of fill their own little bars, and you kind of need to satisfy each of those needs in some way. Like I could paint every single day for 5 hours a day, but after so long, I'm gonna be like, man, I really want to get a game in.
Yeah.
Or I really want to just talk to the community and see what's going on in the rest of the hobby world.
Yeah, I'm fucking hurting for a game, dude.
I hear you. Well, it's like after Adepticon, I didn't play for a few months either.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even burnout. It was just the confluence of things happening makes these things difficult. And like, yeah, you're in the middle of a move and it's a big move. I mean, you got to be done pretty soon from the move out day you've given me.
Yeah.
But and also Thanksgiving's coming up and we got like all this holiday shit coming up for December. Dude, I'm going up to Anne's family for Thanksgiving. I'm going to bring a box of models with me. I'm just going to be like, later, y'all, I'm going to check out to my room for like 2 hours. Bye.
Yeah.
Because not because it's like I want to be antisocial, but it's a genuine stress reliever for me. And it's a genuine thing that makes you feel good. Like when I was in college, there was a 3-week period where I just didn't paint. And painting is something I do every day. It's like a hobby of mine. And I don't remember if it was just because school was real rough or relationships were real rough or whatever, but I just didn't paint for like 3 weeks. And I'm just sitting at my desk and I realized my hands are legitimately trembling because I haven't painted and I haven't taken that time to decompress. Like this hobby is silly. It is painting tiny plastic spacemen and tiny plastic wizards and tiny plastic goblins. Like it's very silly, but it's like how you feel about it is still very legitimate. It's still meaningful to you, regardless of how silly it is. And that has to be communicated also to people you share a life with. Like you have to advocate for your own, sort of space for this sort of thing. And again, there are extra hobby real life things like moving, like, crazy time at work, like all the awful family
at
bullshit.
The same time.
Yeah, like all the sort of bullshit that's been happening over the last few months for both of us that do get in the way of these things. And those things do take priority, but you still do need to find a way to carve out some time. Yeah. Like that, like when you're at home, like let's say like you spend your day moving, working, whatever, and you've got like a bit of time where you just want to turn your brain off and like watch TV or whatever. That is time. If you can just pick up a paintbrush, even if you just paint for 20 minutes or whatever, that's going to make you feel better you might not feel better it's like working out, you're not going to feel better at the moment, but you're going to feel better the next day.
Right. So I want to touch on something you mentioned. You got to talk to your partner about this stuff too. And you have to be open with them and say like, hey, this is really, really important to me. And I need to do it. If not every day, like most days. And explain to them like, hey, I know it's not us time. What I'm doing. It's me time, but I have to have it. And that was a conversation that I had to have with my wife. And when we first started dating, more really when we first started living together. Yeah. When she realized how much time I spent, sitting around painting. And also when we moved in, that was right like after that one Nova after 8th edition came out, where I did almost 2,000 points of Space Marines from September to March. And I think I maybe made things a little hard on her at that point. So you got to have that conversation, that you have to talk to your partner and let them know that this is something that is necessary. And for me, it's absolutely necessary. I actually did get some painting done on a Monday night this week, and I felt so good afterwards and so accomplished. But then I didn't last night because of a bunch of dumb reasons, and one dumb reason, and doesn't matter. And like I felt bad. I was like, man, I had momentum early in the week, and now I don't because life. So I don't know, man. It's just like I'm struggling to find the balance right now. Hopefully, after this move, I'll be able to get back into it with more regularity, but right now it's tough. So let's think about for the opposite, not enough hobby, but what about too much hobby?
I mean, well, like you just said, in the lead up to Adepticon or Nova or whatever, you painted 2,000 points of Space Marines in like 4 months or whatever.
That was too much hobby.
Me painting that army of knights right before Nova last year. Too much hobby. Yeah. That was the thing where afterwards Anne said, never do this again. And I said, don't worry about it. I won't.
Yeah. That was too much. Because I was up like to 3 a.m. almost every night painting. Yep.
Yeah. And
I would paint until my eyes would start closing.
Well, that's the thing too, is like your body is not super thrilled with a lot of micro movements. As a dude who has like chronic hand and wrist pain and all this stuff, I'm very much aware of this. When your body starts telling you like, you hurt, dude, you've got to back off. Yeah. And it might suck. Like you could push through a little bit, like, oh, my shoulder's bugging me, but I just got to get this guy's eyes done, then we're done. All right. Yeah, sure. Fine. Whatever. But that's not the sign that you should go for another 4 hours or pop some Advil and just go at it.
Yeah.
Like your body will tell you when you've done too much hobby.
Well,
don't worry about it.
We're talking about self-care. Like, there's mental self-care, but then there's also physical self-care. You have to listen to your body, and you have to understand that you're not, you're not taking care of yourself. Like, it's like the con life, right? Like, when you're at a con, what are you doing? Yeah. You're drinking a bunch, you're eating garbage, and you're fucking standing around pushing toys around a table. Like, it's fun. It's awesome. I fucking live for that shit. But, dude, it is, like, after every con, I gain like 5 pounds every single time. And, I have to lose that 5 pounds afterwards. But you just feel like garbage. And you go to the airport, especially after Adepticon, because guess what? Food's pretty heavy at Adepticon. You go back and all you want to do is eat a fucking salad.
Or you just barf on the plane both ways, like me. Yeah, I whenever I'm out at like a Adepticon Nova or whatever, I'm on my way back, and Anne's like, "Oh, what?" Like she starts doing some of the meal planning for the week. She's like, "What do you want to do for dinner this week?" And I just write in all caps vegetables every single time. Like, I just want vegetables and water and tea and still some black coffee, but maybe less, and just to get 8 hours of sleep a night. Like, yeah, the con life rules, but again, it's a weekend at a time, a few times a year at most, because I'd like to live past 40.
Right. Yeah. And like, you gotta also have to, like, schedule your hobby time. If you're going to go play a game on a weekend or something, you got to let your partner know and be like, hey, I'm going to fuck off for about 5 hours on Saturday. Yeah. So
we had some disagreements pretty early in our time living together, where she'd just be like, where are you? And I'd be like, I'm at Dylan's. What's up? And she's like, we're supposed to do stuff tonight. And I'm like, you didn't tell me we were. I just left. And like, you need to have that communication through line and like established pretty early on.
Yeah.
If it's with other people. And like, that's not just with a relationship. Maybe there's other people in your life who might want to spend time with you, or you have some social obligations to see, whether it's friends, family, coworkers, whatever. And like, it's all a balancing act, and no one's ever going to get it perfect, and that's okay. You can just try to do a little better each time.
Right. And if you don't have a partner to worry about, or you don't have demanding work or whatever, like, you can't just do 40K or AOS or Necromunda or whatever else. You can't just do that. If you work at Games Workshop, maybe
it's kind of your job there,
but you can't just do that. There are other things to do, other people to meet, and other experiences to go out and achieve.
Well, that's one of the reasons like all our bonus episodes are not generally gaming related, is because there's a lot of other shit we like, and we want to talk about the other shit we like. Like, we love 40K and Warhammer as a whole. That's kind of a core interest of both of us, but there's a lot more to the world than just this broad, wonderful game.
Yeah, there's ska and sports
and anime
and nothing else. And nothing else. Nationals won the World Series, by the way.
I know they did. I'm very happy for you, Dan.
It's a good time.
God bless the Sox.
Get out of here. Shut up. All right. So bouncing hobby, bouncing life. It's a kind of thing that we talk about with our friends all the time, and it's the kind of thing that we want to talk to you listeners about also. So if you have any stories, if you have any tips or tricks or whatever for that, hit us up, contact@40kbadcast.com. We'd love to hear about it. But let's move on, Campbell, to our final segment of the show, Necromunda campaigns. That's right. We're talking about Necromunda again. So if you don't play Necromunda, I guess skip the next probably 20 to 30 minutes and hit Factor Fanfiction, because okay, two things. We wanted to talk about, reiterate real quick how fun Necromunda campaigns are, but I want to talk a little bit about the campaign I'm running this winter called the Winter of Malcontents campaign.
So good. Yeah. So good.
So Necromunda is best played in campaign format, where your gangs are leveling up as they go on. It's an RPG, but with a squad instead of just one character. And that's where the most fun stuff happens. Now, in the current version of Necromunda, I haven't played in any campaigns yet. This is the first one, the one I'm running. But I have played in weekend events with you at Peter's house, the Necro Slam Spa weekend, and then Cinco de Necro last year. So that's really my progressive campaign experience in this version. Now, in older versions of Necromunda, I played in a bunch of fucking campaigns, years bygone. But in this version, that's it for me. But you, Campbell, have played in some recent campaigns.
I have. I will say straight up, the difference between modern Necromunda campaigns and old school Necromunda campaigns, the nuts and bolts are different, but the experience is by and large the same.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very relatable sort of gaming experience because it's not just, it's not just the game you play. The game isn't over when you get off the tabletop. Like, that's just where you fight it out, because you get to go home and work on your gang and tweak your list. And also, if you're, in constant communication with the people you are playing with, like, we have a text chat and everything, a text thread and everything. Yeah. You get to maybe do a little bit of trash talking or a little bit of planning or a little bit of plotting, or, a lot of the persistent nature of the game makes that post-game chat where you kind of figure out what happened last a lot longer, because it has greater implications than just, oh, I lost the game. Oh, well, it's like, oh, no, I lost the game, but Brick Bench Press really kicked some ass, didn't he? And you get to talk about how cool Brick Bench Press is. And you're like, yeah, but Granite Stone just died an ignoble death as he dove into a meat processor.
Very, very, very noble death there. No, like, I've got this Discord server set up for my campaign. And already, it hasn't started yet. It doesn't start for another week. Like, it's already a ton of fun. Like, everybody's talking, everybody's yucking it up, talking about, like, different builds, talking about different things. Like, it's, two players are having a practice game tonight. And
nice.
And they were planning it out in the game planning channel, and I chimed in earlier today, be like, "Hey, did you guys get this game in or what?" And I thought it was yesterday, but it was actually tonight. So I'm like really looking forward to hear what they have to say, because these two haven't met each other, they don't know each other, they've never played with each other before, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good experience for both of them. But I want to hear about it. I want to live vicariously.
Well, I will say, so the thing is with a campaign. The same way with the daily event, with like weekend events like we have, you tend to have, some gangs invariably rise up the charts, some invariably go down. But the drama of that, especially when like an underdog wins a game or whatever, is fantastic. Yeah. And you get to ride
sort of like when the Washington Nationals beat the Los Angeles Dodgers in the NLDS. Or even more, beat the Houston Astros in the World Series, like an underdog winning it all.
Hey, Dan, did you know that the Nationals won the World Series? I didn't actually know the Nationton Washingtons.
The National Washingtons?
The Nationton Washington, the Walgreens Nationals won the World Series. I didn't know they won it. But underdogs, fucking hell. Underdogs coming out from behind and like taking down the big tough gang, or even a gang a little bit above their weight, is always going to be great. And in a weekend event, you can be like, oh, that was cool. All right, cool. I'm off to my next game. Bye. But when you have like a longer campaign, again, you get to build that legend, and that kind of gets to last for the week or two between games or whatever. Like when I played old Necromunda, when I first started with the old Dorkamorka crew, I think I beat Dylan's gang once.
Nice.
Because he had this one heavy named Butch. He has talked about him when he's been on the show. He has brought Butch back with his newer Vansar gangs, but Butch was like the heavy with a heavy stubber and a monocyte and a suspensor harness and a drop rig and a spare munitions and a juve carrying an ammo reload next to him. Like he was the most expensive decked out dude, and he was the big cheese in our whole Necromunda campaign across our entire group, to the point where people who didn't play Necromunda knew who this dude was and that Butch is a dick. And the one time I ever beat Dylan with my fucking shit-heeled Team Meat Goliath gang was the first game of Necromunda I ever played, where my dice were just hot as hell and his were not, and my 1,000 credit gang beat his like 1,700 credit gang, and I just got all these bonuses and boons and gifts because I had such a massive underdog bonus, because that was a rule in place back then. I don't know if it's in place now. Yeah, the giant killer bonus. That's it. And now there's more like inducements before the game to kind of balance things out. I think this was more of a, you hope you get lucky afterwards, you might get something out of it. And that is something I remember better than, most regular 40K games I've played, because there was a story there. There's already a story there going into that, and the repercussions of that story moved on. Like, he had a Juve who leveled up and got like gunslinger, so he bought him 2 bolt pistols, and the next game, Cocktail Weenie, my bolter sniper, plugged him, killed him instantly, and now he just has this conversion of a dude he's never gonna paint because he has no use for him because I killed him. And like, that's the sort of shit that happens in a campaign that you don't get in a one-off game.
Yeah.
Like you might write a story for your dudes and your one-off Necromunda or Kill Team game or whatever, but when it's a campaign, like they become characters. The way they are played on the tabletop is how they become characters, and it's amazing. I love it so goddamn much.
Yeah, like we can turn back to Synchro to Necro, and Big Chungus is a great example of this. A character who started out as your leader, who with his heavy bolter, and it's a Goliath leader with a heavy bolter is one of the scarier characters in the game, and he just kept getting better and better and better and murdering everybody except me. Listeners,
except you.
Except me.
Because I rolled ones twice in a row, as I knew I fucking would in that game.
So that's the thing. Big Chungus became like this fucking problem in the campaign, and I would love to institute some sort of bounty system next time we play.
Yeah, for my 455 credit leader, I think he cost more by the end of it.
455, Jesus.
Yours cost more than mine at the very end, I think.
Yeah, because I made a ridiculous amount of money in my last two games, and I bought him a full servo harness, which is like 190 credits on its own.
Jesus.
Yeah. No, my leader, Viscera, or no, King Mabel, that's right. King Mabel, he would kick the shit out of Big Chungus, honestly.
He did, because you got to charge him, where Big Chungus sucks.
In the multiplayer game we played, yeah.
Yeah, and I just tried to shoot your dog for the entire game.
Everybody wanted to kill my dog.
Because it would be easier than killing your dudes.
Yeah. But nobody killed the dog. The dog was fucking fine the whole fucking campaign.
All right, so that book passes the does the dog die test. So the thing is, imagine that weekend event, but over the course of like a month and a half or longer.
Okay, so
and you have like the legend of Big Chungus growing over this time and like swelling up in between the games in a much bigger way.
I want to talk about the campaign I'm running.
All right.
It's called the Winter Malcontents campaign, and it starts on November 30th, and it's going to go all the way to the second week of March.
Okay.
And it's only 6 rounds with a downtime round, but each round is 2 weeks long. And you're only required to get one game in over those 2 weeks, because everybody's got kids, they got lives, they got houses, they got, jobs, they got all this shit. So
they got kids and lives in houses
and jobs, and like everybody's busy. So I wanted to make it easy on everybody that all you have to do is get one game every 2 weeks. Now there's the option for more, because I broke it up into 2 different types of games: challenge games and skirmish games. And skirmish games are just like a regular game in Necromunda, but you don't collect income afterwards, and income from your rackets, because this is a law and misrule campaign. Challenge games are the big bad ones, though. Like you do the intrigues before every game. So those are the bonus objectives that you can score at the end of the game or during the game and get big time cash or big time rep, or sometimes even like a free skill. They're wild. It's really awesome. And then you get to do your income from your rackets after that game. But also you get double experience in challenge games in my campaign, because they're the big ones. And some people they're only going to be able to play one game every 2 weeks, or they're not going to be able to do a bunch of skirmish games. So I want to make the challenge games more rewarding. So that way it will keep everybody together as far as rating and power goes.
Nice.
So unfortunately, Necromunda, the rules are kind of sloppy, let's just say.
It's generous, but yeah.
Yeah. So I had to do a bunch of rule clarifications and fixes for the game. Nothing like wild, like nothing completely game breaking, but just stuff that clarifies some things. Like when someone's on fire, like the compulsive movement and damage they take replaces their turn. Because it doesn't actually say that in the main rule book. It hints at it in later books, but it doesn't say this replaces the ganger's activation.
A good rule book merely implies the rules.
Well, Necromunda does a lot of rules implications as opposed to writing it out. So like that's a rule clarification that I put in there. Like, hey, if your guy's on fire, he's on fire and he has to run around like he's on fire while he's on fire. There is, however, a way to get around that for a Cawdor gang. There's a tactics card that they have that anybody who's on fire and the friendly gangers who are on fire can act normally. They still take the damage, but they can act normally.
Nice.
Because they're, religious fanatics. But like I had to improve the tactics card system. I ported the thing I wrote about in Goonhammer about tactic cards over because the current tactic cards are like, it's just broken. It just doesn't work the way that they are intending it to work. So I changed it to, instead of just drawing from one of almost 200 cards or picking from over 200 cards, you make a list of 12 cards you want to use. So that way everybody has the cards they want to use and good cards in there. And they just go from there. And you roll a D12 for, if it's like you pick 2 tactic cards, you roll the D12 3 times and you pick the 2 out of the 3. And if you are doing random 2 cards, you just roll it twice and you get 2 random cards. So there's that element of picking, but it's not just you just are picking the same cards every time. Or you get stuck with terrible tactics cards because your deck is 200 cards big and about 25% of them are good. And I've done the fucking research on this, gang. You can go over to Goonhammer and read my articles about tactics cards over there, but it's about 25% hit rate for cards you actually want out of all of the cards.
It's a real good article, by the way.
It was
that helped me a lot.
Heavily researched. It's crazy, dude. Because I write a weekly column about Necromunda for Goonhammer, I know way too much about Necromunda.
I know. You are in the top 10% of Necromunda knowers in the world.
It's a terrible burden. So I had to do a bunch of fixes for this campaign. But again, none of them like really game changing.
Well, I feel like in any campaign, it's understandable. There's going to be some sort of house rules because it is run by somebody and they're going to want to put their own spin on it in some way, whether it is interpreting rules a certain way or making some twist to the overall formula.
Yeah. And like my favorite house rule is giving sidearm to hand flamers because they don't have it right now. It's
good and simple.
But it's like hand flamers get sidearm and they don't do D6 automatic hits or anything in combat. They just do 1 automatic hit in combat, and then you don't use the template for it. It's just like, boop, you got flamed. But here's the thing. You might think an automatic hit in combat, hey, that's pretty good. But if you end your activation in base-to-base contact with a character with the Blaze trait on a 4-up,
you 4 plus,
4, 5, 6 blaze it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hand flamer can be used in combat and is effective. But it might not just be effective on your enemy. It might turn out to be effective on you, too. So fun stuff like that.
Oh, love Necromunda.
Yeah, and I'm really, really excited for this one. This is the first Necromunda 17, like the 2017 release Necromunda campaign, like full, not event like we did in New York in the spring, or I guess New Jersey, but an actual campaign that I'm running. So I'm very, very excited to see how it goes out. I got 7 players, including myself, for this. And the spread is good. We've got 2 Orlok gangs. We've got a Corpse Grinder gang, a Vansar gang, a Venators gang, and then a Gene Stealer Carts gang and an Enforcers gang.
Very cool.
So a big spread.
Interesting spread, too.
Yeah, no Goliaths.
Almost every book being covered.
No Goliaths.
That's a shame.
But Corpse Grinders are, oh man, Corpse Grinders are going to be real nasty. Just the amount of bullshit that they get to do, they just get to do. It's wild. Like, okay, so they can have paired weapons, and paired weapons double your attacks characteristic on the charge, and give you the extra attack for having a second weapon.
Oh my god!
So a guy with 2 attacks with paired Butcher's cleavers. Butcher's chain cleavers comes in, 6 attacks.
Jesus
starts
Christ.
with 2, charges in with 6, and if he's a leader, he's hitting on 2s at strength 5, AP -2, 2 damage each.
That's absolutely fucking disgusting. As a guy who runs a combat gang, that is absolutely fucking disgusting.
Yeah, whatever he's gonna get in contact with, he's gonna fucking mulch. Like
there's gonna be nothing left to bury.
Absolutely wild. Oh, there's a new rule too called Sever. It's like Melta but for combat.
Yeah, like they need the help.
Well, in combat, it doesn't make nearly as much of a difference in combat because generally, if you make somebody seriously injured, they're out of action anyways, unless it's a multi-combat. But multi-combats are surprisingly rare in Necromunda. You kind of don't want to be in them.
Yeah, multi-person combat gets really squidgy.
It gets
the
messy.
Rules get very messy. Just like 2nd edition 40k, just like old Necromunda.
Yeah.
What's old is new again.
Here's a tip for all you Necro players out there. Try to avoid those multi-combats if you can.
Not because it's not good, just because it's very confusing.
But I'm very excited about this campaign, and y'all, I will keep you updated as things go on. We're starting in about 10 days now is when we kick off. So very, very excited for that. The Winter of Malcontents campaign. And you could probably even find us on Yak Tribe too and keep track of all the gangs in there. So really, really excited. Necromunda, baby.
I'm excited for you.
Keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Let's keep on talking. All right, man.
As well you should.
Fact or fan fiction. Let's go. Had a good one last time with Biff Tundrish's brother.
Yes, Biff Tundrish.
That was excellent.
That was excellent. Unfortunately, this is not as good. Because nothing could be, save for a new Space Marine book written by Ian Watson, which I can only hope.
That guy's still kicking around?
He's still alive. He's writing erotic science fiction.
Oh, God bless him.
He has a book called Orgasm Machine. That's it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, because like Orgasmatron, like Motorhead had that on lock. No, he has Orgasm Machine, which is very different from Orgasmatron.
When there's that film Orgasmo.
There is the film Orgasmo. Now you're a man, a man, a man, a man. Now you're a man, a manly man, a man.
All right, enough bullshit. Give me that good
we're nothing
Gucci stuff.
Nothing but bullshit here. This is a story set in a different AU where none of the Primarchs fell to chaos, died, or went missing. Parentheses, apart from the 2nd and 11th. Second set of parentheses within the first set of parentheses. Or did they?
Oh. Oh, yes.
On the Crusader of Korgorimus, the sirens were blaring. The lights were flashing red. The 2nd Legion had just scraped along the side of a massive space hulk.
Wait a second.
"We need to get out of here, or we are going to end up like that," shouted Arasos Forius. "Agreed. But may someone suggest how to do that?" questioned Psychosis Montis. "Lord Montis, if I may," asked a tech priest. "You most certainly can, humble tech priest. I'm open to any suggestions," answered the 2nd Primarch. "If we fire the Marco cannons at certain points, the shells fired should penetrate the space hulk, causing it to explode," replied the tech-priest.
The Marco Rubio.
A good plan indeed. "Arasos Forios, go and order the crew to fire the space-hulk," ordered the 2nd Primarch. "As you command, Lord Montis," replied Arasos Forius. Meanwhile, on Holy Terra, "Emperor, I need a word with you," stated Horus. "What is it, War Master?" asked the Emperor. "The Primarch of the 11th Legion is here, and he claimed that the 2nd Primarch is heading for Terra. We believe they accomplished the mission. He would also like to speak to you," replied Horus. "Tell me I heard you right," the Emperor said, awestruck by this news. "It was magnificent that the 11th Legion has returned from their mission, a mission most people would say no to. Then it hit him, only the 11th Primarch has returned, not the 2nd as well." "You did hear me, Emperor. It's good news indeed," Horus replied. "Horus, I want you to accompany me to the 11th Primarch," ordered the Emperor. "Yeah, Emperor, I shall," Horus replied. At the 11th Primarch ship, "I need the Emperor, I have important news," bellowed Anguis Argentus to a custodian. "Where is he?" "Anguis, is it really you?" the Emperor asked, knowing the answer already but mystified as of how he could possibly be stood there. "It is, Emperor. I need to speak to you privately," Anguis replied. "You will be fine with your brother." Horus, listening, asked the Emperor without a question mark. "Of course," Anguis replied, and with that they set off for the throne room. When they got there, Horus stopped and remained outside, saying he'll let no one in unless it was urgent. Anguis started, "Right, about what I wanted to say. After my Legion and the 2nd Legion defeated Chaos, we get separated, and I was unable to find Psychosis or his Legion." "This is good and bad," the Emperor added. "Good as you have returned, and you have also wiped Chaos out, but it us also bad as the 2nd Legion could be anywhere." "Emperor, there is a custodian here saying that they picked up the frequency of the 2nd Legion's flagship heading for Terra." Horus barged in and stated, "Horus, I need you to go, and to make sure this is him, you may take your Legion and must make haste." The Emperor beamed. If it is him, order all Primarchs to recall to Terra. The Emperor added, yes, Horus. Yes, Emperor. Horus replied, I shall do so at once. And with that, Horus left Anguis Argentis and the Emperor in the throne room waiting to see if the Second Legion shall return.
Oh, God. No, you can stop there.
Okay, because I'll give a spoiler here.
Yeah, ballpark it for us.
Ballpark it for we solve war, and now all the Emperor's Primarchs get to have a new planet with a wife, a son, and a daughter, and it will ease their animosity, and they'll be friends, and their legions will be their pals forever. The end.
Okay.
Yeah, it's did you know that that's the canon ending of Warhammer 40K? That's actually what Warhammer 42K will be. So keep an eye out for that in 2020.
Well, it's fan fiction.
Damn it! How'd you guess?
So I was really enjoying this because Psychosis. You don't know this. I know you don't know this. Psychosis is a famous luchador.
Oh, I don't know that, and that's awesome.
And he's been big in Mexico for a long time, but he also spent time in the States under the WCW label back in the 90s, and he has a very elaborate costume. So that's very good cool stuff. That is good stuff. Okay.
That is Warhammer High by Psycho Callum.
Warhammer High? Wait a second.
I know, there's no high school.
There was no high school in that.
I clicked it expecting it to be another Warhammer High School story, which is my favorite subgenre of totally legitimate Warhammer fan fiction. But no, this was by Psycho Callum, and it's just about this. By the way, how do you think fucking Primarch Psychosis Montis spells his name?
Okay. Can we go Montis first?
All right.
Montis.
Got that. All right, you're halfway there.
Psychosis. P?
Nope.
Ooh, okay. S?
Nope.
I'm running out of words. C?
This is yes, it starts with the C. This is a very good spelling bee we got going on here.
Cykosis.
That's good. That's a very edgy way to spell psychosis.
Yeah, I do play Raven Guard, so you know how I'm very, very edgy. Yeah,
that's like a very Dreamcast game protagonist way to spell psychosis, but it is Cychosus. Which is coincidentally how Psycho Callum spells their name.
Oh, wow. Do we know when this was written?
I broke my normal rule of only reading fan fiction that's really old. This is from April.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's good to hear that the kids aren't all right.
Far from it.
Jeez.
Psycho Callum, keep working at it. You'll make Black Library someday.
We love you, bud.
We would be nowhere without you and people like you.
Yeah, we owe it all to the nerds. All right, man. Let's plug some stuff and get the fuck out of here.
All right.
Okay, patreon.com/40K Badcast. Go there, listen to stuff. We're going to be releasing a November version of our bonus episode series.
Yep, there's a little temporal distortion there because we recorded that a few weeks ago, but life has been fucking insane for both of us, so it's only going to be released now-ishly.
But we do monthly shows, and it's a lot of fun. You should join us on Patreon.
And if you have any suggestions for things you'd like to hear us on our Patreon episodes please get at us, because
give us ideas.
We want to make this fun for you too.
We desperately need ideas.
Don't let them know how desperate you are, Dan. Don't break kayfabe.
Contact at 40kbadcast.com is our email. I've mentioned it already in the show. Please email us ideas for Patreon episodes. We make the call and just, reach out, talk to us. I love seeing pictures of people's hobby areas because I get to create one in my new house. And so any ideas would be would be very much appreciated. And of course, pets as usual. We love seeing them. Dogs, cats, buns, rats, everything. Show us your pets.
Please show us your pets in your hobby area. Please get the perfect Venn diagram of our interests in one image if you can.
If you can. Spreadshirt.com Shop. Ooh.
Shop.spreadshirt.com/40k Badcast. I'm going to work on maybe trying to get a little bit a URL that rolls off the tongue a little easier than that one sometime in the future.
We got to get some new shirts. So
we do got to get some new shirts.
Peter, our friend Peter Dolan, he has some ideas for a new shirt, by the way.
He does. He has been letting me. I don't know if it's the same idea he let me know about a while ago, or if it's a new one.
What did he tell you?
I don't want to give it away. I don't want someone else to make the shirt first.
I'll edit it out.
I think it was a.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's the same one.
Yeah.
I want you to make this.
All right. I'll figure out some way to make it work. I think I can make like a cool. On it.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. Yeah. So shop.spreadshirt.com/40k Badcast. Buy our shirts. We're going to have a new one soon, and you will love it. I promise.
We are on social media. We are on the hell site that is Twitter. Dan is at DB_sleazy. I am at BrotherSRM, where I think I've been posting about everyone's favorite millennial Pokemon Sobble, and I assume you've been posting about something related to baseball or giving away identifying pictures of your home to the internet.
Yeah. Well, fucking if the internet wants to come get me, they're welcome to.
Dox me, you cowards.
Then you, my friend, are also on Tumblr, I believe.
Yes, I am on the slightly less hellish and much less populated now site Tumblr, cam2d.tumblr.com, where I post pictures of my models. Twitter only lets you post 4 pictures at a time, so I can usually get a little bit more in-depth with photos of my models if you want to check out stuff like my cool new Invictor Tactical Warsuit, which I was really happy with, and I'm glad I got to get some pictures of it out there. Also, I am going to be at Hobby Bunker in Malden, Massachusetts on December 8th at 9:30 to 6 for a game day that our friend Spencer Connell is running. Ooh. It's using a bunch of Nova missions and Nova rules. I think it's like $15 to register or $20 to register, but the fee includes gaming membership to the club, get some prize support, all sorts of cool stuff. Contact Spencer at spencerconnell@rcn.com or PM him on the Grimdark Gaming Forum, which is just grimdarkgaming.com. I think like 22 out of 24 slots are filled. So if you want to come in,
wow.
Oh God, if you want to come into one of those 2 slots, fucking hell. No. That's not the poll quote. That's not the poll quote. No.
Oh, poll quotes.
No. No, I don't get like DMCA. If you want to occupy one of those 2 spaces, you can show up and come kick my ass. So I'll be there. Just message Spencer. He's a swell dude. I'll post that contact info in the show notes so you can get your way there.
So gross.
And episode 69 is only 8 episodes away.
It's coming. It's not the only thing that's coming.
Jesus, let's make tracks before we make rope.
I'm also on Goodreads. If you can find me on Goodreads, I'll give you a fucking $10.
Why?
Well, I'm thinking like, what other social networks am I on?
I mean, I'm there too, but like, fine,
Are we
man.
friends on Goodreads? When's the last time you updated your Goodreads profile?
I don't know the last time I updated my Goodreads profile, but I did post that I read or listened to that Magnus the Red book, and I left it a nice rating.
I haven't looked at Goodreads in like 5 years.
Oh man, it's my favorite not social networking site where authors can get something that's kind of passive aggressive and snippy with you if you write bad reviews of their books.
Ooh, now that
happens sometimes.
That seems something. You think Mike Brooks will ever forgive us?
He's friends with me on Twitter. I don't know about you, but he seems to like me. Too. Okay, that's out of pity.
I was reading this Necromunda anthology book, and he's got a couple stories in it, and they're good.
Good.
But I feel like we may have ruined our relationship with Mike Brooks when we called his book Suicide Squad.
You ruined your relationship with Mike Brooks when you called it Suicide Squad. I afterwards said, I still liked it.
It's your podcast too there, fella, and you agreed with me.
This is, fuck, you're right. Oh, actually, I will say in the
You're not innocent of this.
I'm innocent of very few things, Dan. The only thing I'm innocent of is consistent good decisions.
All right, this is totally in sequence, and I definitely didn't forget about this. But we usually end the show on an inspirational quote from the 40K universe. You got anything for us?
I do. The traitor can hide from justice, but he cannot hide from his guilt.
My name's Dan Boyd. His name's Campbell. We're about at 40K. You can too. We'll see you in the next cartoon.